Grandma, you have to eat. You're wasting away to nothing, Tanya scolded as she spooned lumpy mashed potatoes toward my mouth. I turned my head, lips pressed shut, as a pungent medicinal odor wafted from the bowl. How had the vibrant, globe-trotting lifestyle I worked 50 years to earn come to this? An invalid grandma, held prisoner by the very caregiver I'd hired to help me enjoy my golden years. I never imagined the day I first interviewed Tanya that the eager 28-year-old would be force-feeding me less than a year later. I hired her on the spot, entranced by her bubbly chatter about improving my health through superfoods and nature walks. She moved into my guest house that week and took over grocery shopping, cleaning, driving me to appointments, all the little tasks that had grown burdensome after my husband Roger passed. Those first months, I felt better than I had in years. Tanya's green smoothies perked me up and our neighborhood strolls had me sleeping like a baby. She praised my improved strength and clearer skin. When she suggested I update my will, medical directives, and power of attorney to better reflect my healthier lifestyle, I agreed without question. Why wouldn't I trust the angel who'd breathed new life into me? But just weeks after the legal papers were signed, my health began to decline. At first I chalked it up to normal aging, lower energy, aching joints, fuzzy thinking. All reasons to feel grateful Tanya was there to care for me full-time. Then the stomach pain started, the dizziness. A near-constant metallic taste in my mouth. You're not eating enough, Grandma Leela, Tanya said when I turned down her famous lentil stew and quinoa cakes. How will you keep up your strength? She began pulverizing my meals into unappetizing mush, claiming it would be easier to digest. I'm only trying to help you, Grandma, she'd coo while badgering me to take a few more bites. My protests earned me a reputation as a stubborn, non-compliant patient. Tanya would sadly cluck her tongue on the phone with my doctor, lamenting how Grandma Leela was fighting her caregiving efforts. She piled supplements onto my meal trays and scheduled a flurry of new medical tests. My once orderly kitchen became cluttered with pill organizers and powdered shake mixes in sickly pastel hues. But no specialist could explain my worsening fatigue, disorientation, and GI distress. My once sharp mind felt wrapped in gauze, unable to make connections. With each passing week, I grew weaker and more muddled, and therefore more dependent on Tanya. She took to calling me Mom and telling visitors I was too tired for company. Even weekly video chats with my daughter Stella and grandson Caleb grew difficult. I'd drift off mid-conversation, waking to Tanya patting my hand, the call already disconnected. In my increasingly rare moments of lucidity, I'd fret over what was happening to me. This didn't feel like normal aging, even for a woman in her 80s. Instinct told me something more was going on. But when I tried to verbalize my concerns, Tanya would swoop in with a patronizing chuckle. Oh, Mom, don't be silly. You're just not used to slowing down. Let's get you a nice warm bath and a cup of my special relaxing tea. That always helps you feel better. And she'd lead me upstairs, ignoring my feeble protests. Had it not been for Caleb, I might never have discovered the truth. My 24-year-old grandson, an IT specialist for the Navy, took emergency leave from his deployment overseas to visit me. I barely recognized the strapping young officer who enveloped me in a bear hug, his bright blue eyes so much like my late husband's. Grandma, what's happened to you? He whispered, voice thick with concern. For the first time in months, my mind felt semi-clear. Maybe it was Caleb's familiar presence sparking long-dormant neurons to life. Or maybe it was the break in Tanya's constant care while Caleb insisted on preparing my meals himself and monitoring my meds. He narrowed his eyes when she tried to take over, politely but firmly dismissing her offers to help. Something's not right, he muttered our second morning together, eyeing my untouched breakfast tray. You used to devour great-grandma Vivian's famous strawberry preserves. Now you won't touch them. And you barely noticed when I mentioned I'm up for a big promotion next month. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. Grandma, do you feel safe with Tanya? Has she ever done anything to make you uncomfortable or afraid? I hesitated, thinking of the times she grabbed my arm a bit too hard when I refused her helpful mush. The way she'd loom over me, goading me to take my meds with a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. her syrupy voice as she dismissed my concerns, telling me I was just confused and she knew best. I don't know, I stammered, feeling tears prick my eyes. Sometimes she scares me a little. And I don't understand why I keep getting worse instead of better. But she says I'm just being difficult and should let her handle everything. Caleb's jaw tightened. That's not okay, Grandma. You have rights, even if you do need more help now. I don't like how she infantilizes you. He squeezed my hand. Would you be willing to let me set up a couple cameras around the house? Just to make sure everything's on the up and up? I don't feel right leaving you alone with her during my interviews this week. I agreed more out of love for Caleb than real conviction. But his suspicions seeded doubt in my own mind. I found myself paying closer attention to Tanya over the next few days, even through the brain fog that still gripped me. The way she tensed whenever Caleb entered the room. The syrupy solicitousness in her voice when she thought he was listening, replaced by brusque impatience the moment he left. The vice-like grip on my arm as she all but force-fed me, nails digging into skin. Had this really become my normal? On Caleb's last day with me, he asked to borrow my computer to print his updated resume for interviews. As I slowly pecked out my email login, I noticed an odd message in my outbox. It was addressed to my estate attorney, dated just a week after Tanya moved in. The subject simply read, "Updated documents." Hands shaking, I clicked it open. There were several attachments, a new will naming Tanya sole heir, power of attorney papers giving her control over my medical care and finances, even a deed granting her my house upon my death or incapacitation. The brief message above them contained no personal greeting, just a brusque line that I wished to update my affairs and naming Tanya as the point of contact for any questions. It was signed sincerely, Lila Hawkins, but the shaky scrawl looked nothing like my own handwriting, even at my weakest. "Caleb!" I croaked out. "Come look at this." His eyebrows shot up as he scanned the documents over my shoulder. "Grandma, did you agree to any of these changes?" When I shook my head, he let out a low whistle. "I think it's time we check those cameras." The nanny cams told a chilling story. There was Tanya crushing up small white pills with a mortar and pestle, then stirring the powder into my oatmeal, soup, even the vanilla pudding she spoon-fed me at night. Always with that tight, mirthless smile as she cooed what a good patient I was. In another clip, she sat at my desk, carefully tracing my signature over and over on a notepad before forging it on a stack of papers. Rifling through my photos and keepsakes, she pocketed some favorite costume jewelry pieces and an antique silver hair comb from my wedding day. The most disturbing footage showed her on the phone, walking from room to room as if to evade notice. "It won't be much longer now," she was saying to some unknown conspirator. "A few more weeks of the meds and she'd be a drooling vegetable. Her brats won't have a clue, they barely check in. And I've got the documents ready for when the time comes." An ugly laugh. "Easiest 3 million I've ever made." Caleb's eyes blazed as he watched the damning footage. "She's been drugging you, Grandma. Probably for months from the looks of it. And she's forging documents to steal your entire estate." He hurried to collect samples of my tainted food and toiletries to be sent to a private lab, then gently unclipped a snippet of my hair. "For toxicology. So we'll have proof of what she's been dosing you with." While we awaited the results, Caleb contacted my daughter Stella, my attorney, and finally, the police. He insisted on staying with me round the clock, unwilling to let Tanya near me. Within hours, a grim-faced detective was at my door with a warrant, just as Tanya returned with an armload of grocery bags. Her angelic caregiver mask shattered the second she spied the police. Bags crashed to the ground as she lunged toward me, screeching and clawing like a rabid animal. "You can't take her from me!" she howled as the detective restrained her. "I'm the only one who knows how to care for her. She needs me." "She needs you to stop poisoning her," Caleb growled, putting himself between me and my would-be murderer. "You're never laying a finger on my grandma again." As the police led a still-shrieking Tanya away, I collapsed against my grandson, overwhelmed by shock, rage, and a profound relief. With the fog of her drugs finally lifting, I could see just how close I'd come to a truly nightmarish fate. The toxicology and lab results soon confirmed the full extent of her crimes. She'd been slipping me cocktails of sedatives, opiates, and psychoactive drugs for months, Dosages carefully calculated to erode my physical and mental health without sending up red flags. Combined with the malnutrition from her unpalatable healing foods and social isolation, her concoctions had left me a husk of my former self, entirely at her mercy. Had Caleb not intervened when he did, within weeks I'd have been unable to voice any protest as she seized legal control over my life and death. The letters she'd forged in my hand laid the groundwork, expressing my wishes to forego medical treatment and slip away peacefully under the loving care of my devoted aide. Once the documents were activated, she'd have had free rein to drain my accounts and liquidate my assets, all while playing the part of selfless caregiver to the end. The final nail in her coffin was the discovery that this wasn't Tanya's first con. She had a history of bouncing between agency jobs until landing a high-value mark, then isolating and exploiting them into incompetency or an early grave while looting their estates. I was simply to be her biggest score yet. With each new revelation, the depth of her psychopathy grew clearer, and my gratitude to Caleb deepened. His quick instincts and stubborn loyalty had quite literally saved my life. Knowing how close I'd come to such grim fate, I held him closer and resolved to never let a day pass without expressing my love and appreciation. It's been a month now since Tanya's arrest. With the help of a new caregiver, a thoroughly vetted retired nurse named Bonnie with decades of experience, I am slowly regaining my strength and dignity. Stella visits constantly, horrified at how much she missed, but we both know it's Caleb who saved me by following his gut. I share my story not for pity but as a warning to other families. Elder abuse can take many forms: neglect, violence, financial exploitation, and yes, even the insidious poisonings I endured. The abusers often hide behind masks of kindness while isolating their victims. So I urge you, dear reader, to stay present and proactive in the lives of your aged loved ones. Visit often, in person if you can. If you must hire a caregiver, vet them thoroughly and never stop observing their interactions. Empower your elders by including them in decision-making. And above all, trust your instincts if something feels off. Not every senior has a guardian angel like my Caleb, but every family can learn from our story and take an active role in their loved one's care. It may be the only thing standing between them and a predator like Tanya.